Good afternoon. It's Mike here. Get started in a second. Just making sure everything is recording and the sound is good. Looks like we're good to go. All right. So hey again, thanks for coming out for this little workshop on the order flows tip indicator for NinjaTrader 8. It's it's a new indicator. It was actually one that we weren't really planning on releasing, but then I showed a few traders like, hey, you know what? You gotta get that out there for other traders. So I sort of rushed to get it out towards the end of the year, um, while I was busy traveling, just trying to get it all up and prepared for everyone. And it's the feedback has been good, so I'm glad that everyone is getting the use out of it. But for those of you that aren't familiar with it yet, that's what this presentation is for. So again, welcome to the Orderflows FlowsTips workshop, where we'll be discussing the Orderflows flows tip indicator. Most traders don't lose because their idea is horrible. Their trade idea. They lose because they're late to the shift in the order flow. Right? They're trading a single time frame in a multi-time frame game. We all like to look at our own types of charts. Whether they're a minute-based chart, whether they're a Renko chart, whether it's a range-based chart, and that's all well and good, but we're not trading against traders that look at those charts. We're trading a chart that puts the market in the most sense to us as traders. But the big traders, guys that move the market, they're looking at they have sort of a broader stroke of the market. Okay, and that's why I talk about multi-time frame game is sort of a longer time frame view of the order flow. Um, Traders lose because they're guessing from candles and noisy footprint numbers instead of seeing who actually owns the bar, who's really in control. Because at the end of the day, trading is between buyers and sellers. One person is going to beat the other person. You know how it goes, right? As a trader, you think you have a great trade. You enter right as the move runs out of fuel, right? Your stops get tagged to the tick. We've all seen that where we get stopped out literally to the tick, and the market rips in your original direction, right? You felt something maybe in the order flow, but you can't see it clearly enough to act with confidence. That's just not psychology. That's an information problem, right? It's not a problem with you as a trader per se with your mindset. It's how you're dealing with the information. Okay, you're trying to make real-time decisions about a live auction using tools that show you only a blurred version rather of the battle between aggressive and passive traders, right? And it's a constant fight, right, between these aggressive traders. They're lifting the offers, they're hitting the bids. Passive traders are absorbing them, all right, leaning on a level or stepping back. It's sometimes it's when those passive traders, we always talk about the aggressive traders are the ones that move the market. Well, they are, but it's the passive traders that support the market, offer resistance. And when they back off, what's left to stop the market? Every bar is a negotiation between those two traders, between the passive and aggressive traders. Now, the most important moments for us as traders are the tipping points, right? Where aggressive buyers finally overwhelm passive sellers at a level where aggressive sellers suddenly run into a wall of passive buying. Where neither side has a real edge, the market is just chopping, right? These tipping points almost never show up cleanly in a traditional chart. And even on a footprint, you can easily get lost in the numbers. So FlowsTip is an order flow tipping point detector, right? That's the name, FlowsTips, right? Because it's designed to answer one question in every bar. Right now in this bar, who is actually in control? Buyers, sellers, or nobody? Sometimes no one's in control. The market's just doing what the market does, which is facilitate trade. So here's how the flow tips indicator approaches that. It looks inside each bar at where meaningful volume trades. It evaluates how that volume trades. Are buyers lifting offers or selling hitting bids? Reads the behavior within the current context. Are we driving or moving in a direction? Rotating? Or is it balanced? Is the market getting squeezed? Or are traders fading? It runs all of that through a proprietary algorithm to flag control shifts, the moments when the auction is tipping, quote, unquote, tipping from one side to the other. You don't see the math involved, in the footprint. You don't got to analyze the footprint itself. I mean, you could run the flows tips on a footprint chart, but you don't need to. You can run a regular bar chart. And what you're going to see, instead of seeing a footprint with all the numbers, is you're going to see a clear visual representation of who owns the bar and whether that control is strengthening, weakening, or flipping. So just really quick, let's pull up a chart here. Okay, this is what do we got here? Euro currency with FlowsTips, right? And let's go here, get this on, so you can see bullish signal, bullish signal, bullish signal on the way up, bearish signal, on the way down, right? I mean, this is, I'm going to get into the indicator settings in a moment, but I just wanted just to show you, right, how it's reading what's the trading that's actually taking place in the bar, off these settings. Where are we here? There's a tips level, swing filter. This is just using sort of the defaults with the tips level at the lowest level, momentum strength, but I'll talk about the settings a little bit later. Okay, but it just gives you an idea, it's measuring, giving a firing off a bullish signal here, another one here, another one here, right? Another one here. Then it sort of hits its apex up here and it starts selling off. And as it starts selling off, you get the bearish signal, right? And it moves back down. All right, so let's walk you through a few examples so you can see how this actually works. So again, these are the settings. Obviously the license token, when you get a license, multi-time frame analysis. This is what I was referring to earlier, talking about the higher time frame. Okay, so you could set, 5 minutes. And what that does is it will analyze, say, 5-minute order flow plotted on your 1-minute chart or your range-based chart or your volume-based chart or your Renko-based chart. Okay, so most indicators just analyze a chart that's on your screen. So you're not taking into account sort of a higher time frame. People say, well, 5 minutes isn't much of a higher time frame. Well, in order flow, it is. Okay, because order flow gets stale pretty quick. But when you're looking at sort of a higher time frame, again, I'm not going to say you got to look at a 4-hour order flow. I think that's not very useful. But keep it within 5, 10, 15 minutes. When you see the aggregation of the order flow come in, it can give you some nice powerful signals. Tips levels 1 through 6, 1 being the lowest, 6 being the highest. I'll talk about that later. And a little bit of momentum strength. 1 is the minimum. Okay. So this is bonds today, or sorry, ultra bonds today, using that settings that I just showed you, right? The 5-minute setting with tips level at 1, momentum strength at 1. Right, so it's catching this major move up, more move up here, move down, little move up sideways, nice right before this big drop at 9 o'clock where it went from, basically 03 down to 24, and then back up from, 28 all the way back up to, 05, 06, 07, 08. It's a 10-point move here, 10-point move back up. Simply by looking at a slightly higher time frame, 5-minute analysis, as opposed to, this is a 1-minute chart. This is another example. This is euro currency. Now this is actual underlying chart. Chart 0 means it's the basic chart with the same settings. 1, tips level, 1, momentum strength. Okay, I showed you a chart from earlier. Just now, this is from even earlier today. Move back down, move back up, right? Bullish bar right here. See how the volume is being distributed. You do got one buying a balance, one selling a balance, point of control somewhere in the middle. Starts working its way back up, finds its tipping point up here. Right here, you got some nice bearish order flow. You got a couple 0 prints. Got a line point of control, some buying imbalances in these red bars, and the market moves back down. So you catch this move up, the move back down, back and forth. Now, before I get into some other examples, I just want to run through some of these settings really quick. So the multi-time frame analysis, this allows you to analyze different time frames or chart types. So meaning you could analyze, well here, I'll show you what you can analyze. a second to come up here. Come on, Ninja. Okay, so you can analyze tick, volume at range, second, and minute-based charts. Okay, and those are the ones you can analyze. So if you're using something like a Renko, you can't analyze the you can analyze the Renko chart. If you got Ninja Renko or something, you gotta have tick replay on. But you just use chart. Okay, but you can't analyze a different setting Renko than your underlying chart, but you can use it on a Renko chart. All right, so get back here. So if you want to analyze the chart type you're trading, for example, you want to see 1 minute signals on your 1 minute chart, you just leave it at 0. If you want to change it to a 5 minute, you change it to 5 minute, and then you change the period value 5. If you want a 30-minute chart, change the period type to minute, and you put in period value as 30. Okay. Now, tips level. This is the most important setting that you're going to use. Default is 1. Range from 1 to 6, with 1 being the minimum, 6 being the highest setting. Rises gradually from 1 to 6. Setting of 3 is kind of mid-range. Low settings are good on slower markets. Higher settings are more volatile markets, but 1 is good for most markets to start with. So if you start with 1 and you say, oh, there's too many signals, then you could adjust it up. Remember, 3 is sort of the mid level. Okay, now swing filter, swing period. Obviously, if you want to be filtering out tipping points at swing highs or swing lows, this is where you would do it. Okay. So, 5 is a good setting. You could use 1, 3, 7, 9. Really depends on your trading style. Minimum volume required. 5 is the default. I don't think you really want to go lower than 5. You want to have something, a minimum amount of volume to trade to analyze. Okay. You can set it higher, for example, 10, 15, 20 for more volume. But when you're in most markets like E-minis, it doesn't matter. You got good volume. It's more for if you're trading thinner markets like some of the agricultural products. Yeah, you going to want to have a minimum volume setting. Even some of the currencies that can be thin at times, like Swiss franc, you want to have a minimum volume setting. Okay. Again, you could set it as high as you want, but I said for most liquid markets, it doesn't matter that much because they just trade a lot of volume anyway. Okay, so you're pretty well set. Momentum strength is another important setting. Is default, I believe, is set to 3. So 3 is average momentum in the market. To disable, set to 0. 0 momentum. We wouldn't look at momentum. 1 would be, I say the weakest momentum, but it's really the lowest, the minimum momentum requirement. 3 is average, 6 is strongest. 2 and 4 are available, but I just tend to stick with 1, 3, and 6. The maximum level, of course, is 6. Now, POC movement. Now, this is a new setting on a lot of our indicators, but what it does is it looks for POC moving between bars, okay? And it's important because basically what you have is volume shifting up or down, okay? And why that's important is because, if volume is shifting, right, then price shifts together with volume. That gives strong signals, right? Because that's Dow theory, right? When price is going up, you want volume to be increasing, and if volume, not necessarily increasing, but moving in the direction of price, yeah, you're just in a better position overall. Okay. Now you got a sound alert. If you want to use sound alert for signals, it's disabled. I'm not a big fan of sound alerts per se because, if you got a lot of indicators running, and the market's moving quickly, and you got a lot of charts open, you're gonna get a lot of sounds going off, and it can be a little confusing. So those are the main settings. Okay, so just really quick, again, you could adjust the settings depending on the market you're trading, so this is tips level as 3, momentum strength of 1. This is in the overnight session in the MES, right? You see it gives some very good signals. I mean, it gives you some little bearish signals here. But maybe you get stopped out at a small loss, but then it gets you right back in to catch the major moves up, right? Tips levels 3, that's the average tip level. I like a little bit of momentum strength. That's why I set it at 1. If you set momentum strength higher, like say, 6, you're gonna find yourself again. There's a trade-off between tips level and momentum strength level. 3 and 3 is also good, but generally speaking, if you really ramp up the momentum strength to the highest level, I mean, yeah, you'll find strong trends, but sometimes you're going to find yourself, getting a trade at the the highest movement. This is the same setting. Okay, this is crude oil. Again, 3 and 1. Tips level 3, momentum strength 1. Okay, again, it gave a bullish signal here, a bullish signal here, but still came right back with the bearish signals. Then the bullish signal back up. Okay. Now this is with the RV chart, right? I got momentum strength turned off here through 0, but it's still the tips level of 3, right? Some nice moves down, nice moves up, nice move down. Again, this trade doesn't work out right here, but it comes right back with the stunner right afterwards. Is it E-mini RV chart? Yeah, I can do without this trade here, these trades here, but I could definitely live with this 40-point sell-off here from 69.30 down to 68.90. Even up here is a nice move up, nice little move down. Again, tips level 3, momentum strength 0. On a RV chart or a Renko chart or something, I tend to turn off momentum strength, or just because it's a momentum chart by itself. So I don't need to try and get fancy and use momentum. Now here's where it gets interesting. Okay, so this is a euro currency. It's a 1-minute chart, but it's plotting 15-minute time frame signals. Okay, so it's taking the longer view of the market and putting it on my shorter time frame chart. Okay, so you can see here minute is 15, and I'm just using tips level 1, momentum strength 1. Okay, so in that case, now this is using a 5-minute chart. And again, you could hone in on what you think is a good chart. Right? It doesn't have to be 5 minutes. It could be 3 minutes. It could be 7 minutes, 10 minutes. But if I'm using a higher time frame chart, I tend to keep tips level set at 1 and momentum strength either off or at 1. I like to have just a little bit of momentum. Right? I don't like to necessarily turn it off because I like to try and ride with the trend, ride with the movements, especially if it's a higher time frame chart. I want to be going in that direction. This is bonds again with 5-minute setting, multi-time frame analysis. Tips levels 1, momentum strength is also 1, right? So it's catching the nice moves down. Again, I tried to get long a little bit here, tried to catch, there's a little bit of turn taking place in there, but just wasn't to be, just as here, and it just keeps you short. Right, same here. Nice move down, some little bullish signals that they go up, then sort of stall out, but then the bearish signals come back in to catch the major move back down. Crude oil, similar thing. 5 minutes, tip level 1, momentum strength at 1. Right, he's just catching this beautiful move up. Some short signals, but it just reverses, keeps you back long again. Okay, crude oil. Now this is the actual underlying chart with a higher tips level 3. Momentum strength is 3 also. So it's stronger tips level, stronger momentum strength. Right? Catch this nice move, little move down, nice move up. There's some bearish order flow in here, right? It's giving you signals, but this market is resilient. even though it gives them little, it gives, 1, 2, 3, 4 sells, it can't sell off. And then it reverses, reads the order flow that there's something bullish taking place, and it catches the move back up. And again, it catches a little move down and a little move back up again. Where are we here? This is your currency, 3 and 3, same one as the crude oil I just showed you. Right, so flows tips levels at 3, momentum strength at 3. Again, I like to trade with a little bit of momentum, whether you use 1, 3, or 6, it's up to you. I like to use at least 1, but if I'm going to raise the tips level, say 3, right, it's going to be a little bit more stricter. That's why I say, if you're using a tips level of 3 and a momentum strength of, say, 6, you might not catch that turn right away, right? Simply because the momentum hasn't shown up yet. So just keep that in mind. So Ultra Bonds, it's a 1 minute chart off 5 minutes flow tips setting. Okay. Crude oil, 3 of 3. Again, this is crude oil on the 5th. Go back here. This was in the morning, right? This is 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. This is the same day, but this is in the US session. This time it's 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, right? Euro currency down, back up, 3 and 3, same setting, crude oil that I'm using here on Euro currency. Tips level of 3, momentum strength of 3. Okay. Now with flows tips, right, you're trading pressure, not price. And what do I mean by that? Well, every bar is a struggle between buyers and sellers, right? Flow tips pinpoints when the balance tips before price reacts. Sometimes the balance tips, but the price doesn't react. Okay, and that's unfortunate, but that's trading, right? We wish that every signal would be profitable, but really, it's a long game, right? There's going to be some signals that work excellent. There's going to be some signals that struggle. Okay. Now remember, your setup isn't broken, your timing is, right? Most traders spot the pattern but miss the moment. Flows tips shows you exactly when aggression aligns with your levels, so you enter with conviction, not hope. Volume matters, but only when it means something, right? I mean, a lot of traders get mesmerized by big volume in the market, right? But sometimes this volume, it doesn't matter, right? It's not important. So you could forget noisy volume. Flows tips zeroes in on meaningful transactions and shifts the point of control, and shifts in the point of control, filtering out the fake moves, right? That's what I'm talking about, that POC movement filter. By using that, right, it takes the volume that matters the most and uses it in its analysis. And it filters out fake moves and consolidations and highlighting real momentum. Because if you're using the POC filter and the market's consolidating, you're not going to see any signals. Smart money leaves clues if you know where to look. Right? Flows tips tracks how big players absorb pressure at key price levels. When selling stalls despite high volume, a squeeze is brewing. When buying dries up, it's time to fade or step aside. Okay, so you got to understand, right, how big players act in the market. Right, they're going to absorb selling at important levels. Right, whether it's at lows, right, as we would call that absorption, but if it's at highs, we call it resistance. One time frame isn't enough. Right? With built-in multi-time frame analysis, flows tips confirm signals across time frames. 5-minute signals managed on a 1-minute chart, for example, or 15 minutes managed on a 1-minute chart, or even a 30-second chart. I mean, you always hear about traders say, "Oh yeah, I use a top-down approach, daily charts and 4-hour charts and hourly, 30 minutes. Then I execute on a 1-minute chart." Well, what if you could take your 30-minute chart analysis, plot it on your 1-minute chart? and even your 15-minute analysis, you could actually put different instances of FlowsTips on your chart. So if you want to have 15-minute signals as well as 5-minute and 10-minute signals, you could load them up all together on your chart, and I'll show you that. Just remember, data is useless without action. FlowsTips is built for action, right? It's not just pretty charts. If a signal doesn't result in a tick move within 2 bars, it's ignored. No movement, no trade. It's as simple as that. So let's we'll take a look here. I'll pull up the chart. Okay. Do I have a bar chart here? So FlowsTips. Okay. I mean, I was showing you here on, all right, this is a footprint chart, but for ease of use here, I'll show you on a simple E-mini, right? 1-minute chart you can see up there. Excuse me. Let me make this crosshairs a little bit darker. Okay, so, all right, well, 7,006. We're selling off right now. Let's take a look at this indicator settings. So you see, right, it's a 5-minute chart, or sorry, it's a 1-minute chart. It says here 1 minute, but I'm using 5-minute signals. Okay, I had said that, you know, if you want to look at sort of other higher time frames, you could actually load them. What you do is you just add another instance, FlowsTips, and you could make, you know, a 15-minute chart on here. We'll just keep it at 1 and 1 because that's what I'm using here, 1 and 1. But if you're going to use that, if you're going to put another instance, say you want to have 15 minutes together with 5-minute, I would suggest change the color, you know, green, maybe. I don't know what other color to use, dark orange. So green and dark orange would be 15-minute signals. Okay. FlowsTips, so you see 5 here. Actually, I got one little difference. I got minimum volume of 5 here. This one I got 10, but I can make that 5. Just give it a second. It's just calculating. You know, FlowsTips, you do need to use tick replay, have that enabled on your chart. Now, again, you know, if it's a market that's got a lot of data, first time you load it, it could take a minute or two to come up. But once it's on there, it's on there. Getting back to just really quick, I just want to talk about something here. What was it here? Well, I'm going to show you guys in a second this POC filter. It is kind of a momentum filter, but more importantly, it's probably more on a breakout filter than using the momentum filter. Because obviously, if POC is moving, the market's moving, but more importantly, the momentum is shifting. Okay, so I'll show you that in a second here when I get back to my chart. Okay, so here's the chart. All right, so you can see blue is 5-minute, and some of these, you know, this color is kind of this different color blue because probably there's signals are aligned. That's why it's just like overdrawing. That's why it's a different color. You know, 5-minute, 15-minute chart. But let me, I'll pull up a crude real quick here. And I'm going to make one change here. Give me a second. What I'll do is just try and keep it a little bit easier. Well, crude, $55. What I'm going to do is I'll move these. Change this one to 4. And that way you can see the, because people ask, you know, oh, sometimes the signals align or not aligned. So one's a 15-minute. So you see it's still calculating. So it plotted already the 5. Now it's plotting the 15. Oh, no, I did wrong. Okay, so you can see here's the red and blue is the 5 minutes. Orange is the 15 minute. I don't know if there's any green. The green is 15 minute. Okay, now I'll just remove these. So I'll just go back to the normal chart 0. I'll show you, right? Okay, so we'll just make it here with a normal chart. Sort of the defaults here. Yeah, change the colors. Took off the wrong one, but I'll just make it back to. I like blue and red. Blue, it's always blue is buy, red is sell. Blue, red. Okay, so you see there's a lot of signals. Okay, it was set at 1, which is its lowest. Momentum strength is 0. I'll set that back at 0. But let's turn on PLC movement. Okay, it's going to clean up your chart more because now it's looking for more movement in volume. Okay, and just look at this area where we were going sideways here. I'll just blow this up. Okay, you see this trend, it's all down, right? Signals are all down. If I have PLC movement off, okay, this area here, right? You're seeing buys and sells, you're seeing a lot of signals, okay? You got buy in here, okay? I'm not interested in those, right? The market that's going sideways, I just want to sort of catch a trend. Now, PLC movement at 1 is about as tight as you could get with PLC movement. I mean, you could set it at 3 or say 5 even to really catch sort of stronger breakouts. Okay, you hear this move down, right? You got this little move up, right? These moves down. Now, excuse me. What we have here is called the trade entry signal. Okay, what that means is for a trade, for a signal, right? The signal is actually the triangles. It's not these lines being drawn out. Okay, these lines being drawn out is a zone because people ask, where would you place your stop? I use these zones as stop placements. Okay, but the down triangle is the signal where to get short or where to get long. Blue for longs, red for shorts, with my stop at these areas up here, okay, where the zone is being drawn out. Now again, you could always adjust it based on how the market's moving. Now you'll notice there's some zones like this one here, where there's no triangle that fires off telling me to get long here or get short here. Okay, and in this case, the market would have stopped you out here. This market would have stopped you out here. Why is that? Because what we have is the trade entry signal, which means you see down here, it's enabled. Trade price level in ticks is 1. Trade validity in bars is 5, meaning it's got to move at least 1 tick beyond the low of the signal bar where the zone is drawn out from, 1 tick lower than that low, somewhere in the next 5 bars. Then you'll get your down triangle. Just as for a bullish signal, right, it's got to move 1 tick above the high of the signal bar over the next, in this case, 5 bars, because I got it set at 1 and 5, and it doesn't even get any higher. So there's no follow through order flow. That's why there's no bullish signal formed here. There's just the zone. So there was the order flow, but no confirmation. So it's a confirmation tool, because if I have it disabled, disable it here, right, you'd have taken this trade and lost, taken this trade and lost, or sorry, it's this one here. and lost. So imagine, right? Do you want to take this trade and get stopped out? No. Do you want to take this trade, get stopped out? No. You want to take this trade and get stopped out? No. All right. You've just removed 3 losing trades, even one up here, right? Where it's not working in the sense of no follow through. And just, imagine, when you look over your trading results over the course of a year and you're like, man, if I could have just taken out 10% of my bad trades, what a difference that would have made to your trading results. So you see here, no signal, right? That's good. You don't want to take that trade. Just as here, no up triangle. You don't want to take that trade. No down triangle here. That's a losing trade you don't want to take, right? You just removed 1, 2, 3 losing trades, okay? So that's, to me, that's a good thing, right? If you could remove some of the trades that you would have lost on, that's always a good idea. Let's take a look here. So we'll mess around with some of these settings. So 3, so we'll make this tips level a little bit stronger. I'll keep the trade entry signal turned on. Okay, so it's 3. Momentum strength I got turned off. Okay, I mean, how does it look? It looks decent. There's a lot of signals. I don't normally like so many signals. I could make the tips level stronger, 6. Okay, so it's going to really look for some strong tips levels. Um, when I'm looking at markets, the first time I always want to watch and say, am I getting some decent movements or not? If there's like a sell-off like this, I want to participate in it. So the tips level is probably too strong. So yeah, I think it's better to go back down to 3 and then use momentum strength. Okay, I want momentum on my side. So maybe I'll make it 3, make it a little bit stronger. 3, so now I'm starting to catch this move down. Okay, move down, move up. You could even change, so you want to use 3 for the time frame, 3 minutes. You can see how it looks with tips level of 3, momentum strength of 3. Okay, so you're still catching those moves down. To me, that's the beauty of it, is being able to use this multiple sort of time frame analysis, or the higher time frame analysis on your lower time frame chart. Because again, sometimes the more order flow you can have in your analysis, the better. And specifically to this tool, FlowsTips, where it differs from some of the other indicators that I've released, is that reading a bit more of the order flow definitely helps at times. They give you some stronger moves, bonds. Let's take a look at bonds here. Again, what I got, just a 1-minute chart. I don't know, I haven't looked at bonds today, but okay, so from this morning, 3 a.m. here, this is a 3-minute. Again, this is analyzing it off of what? Whoops. Excuse me, off of a 3-minute chart. And again, you're going to find when you're using different settings, with 3-minute, if you're on sort of a longer time frame charts, you might want to lower the tips level. This was on 3, so you can see a buy, 1, 2, 3, 4 buys. Okay, when I change it, still keep it on the 3-minute, but I'm going to lower tips levels down to 1. Momentum strength, I could keep at 3 for now, but I'm just curious how it looks. I may change it. Okay, so still the 4, so it's really, but there's a signal, not down there, didn't come in. So maybe it's the tips level. The momentum strength level, turn momentum strength off. Right, so now I'm seeing a little bit more movement, right? More signals. I'm catching this high, catching this low. If I wanted to, I can see how it looks with swing highs and swing lows. I would enable the swing period. Okay, so this is catching these turning points here, right? This high, this low, this high, this low, this high. Okay, and you'll notice where it comes back to. Okay, well, there's a level here, but just blew through there at 9 o'clock. But then it rallied back up to where? This previous level. Now it rallies back up to where? This earlier level. Okay, this is ZB. I don't know. Try ultra bonds. Got a little bit more movement in ultra bonds than regular bonds. Okay, again, this is with the swing filter. Here, here, here. You don't want to use the swing filter. Turn that off. So you got just tips level of 1. Everything else is, I mean, still got the minimum volume, but that's fine. It trades enough contracts. Momentum strength off. Okay, so you see obviously more signals, you know. And but you know, it all comes down to sort of refining and finding your sweet spot. Okay, maybe you want to have some POC movement. Start at 1, right? And sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't have any signals. And one, it's because they got tick replay off. So tick replay on your chart, you gotta make sure you have it turned on. Sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't have any signals. And I'm like, send me your settings. They'll have swing filter turned on and they'll have momentum strength turned on, right? So they'll have like swing filter turned on here and they'll have momentum strength at 6. Well, if you're using momentum strength with the swing filter, chances are you're not going to see signals simply because they're working against each other, right? Momentum is for catching moves in a trend, whereas swing filter is for catching, highs and lows, swing highs and swing lows. So generally speaking, you're not going to have momentum at a swing low. You will once you move away from that low, but not at the swing low. Okay. And you could even say you don't want to use that. You could just use tips level of say 3. Let's see how it. This is just with tips level of 3. So it's catching some nice moves up here, nice move down, little move down, little move up, move back up. Okay. Let me take a look at a couple of questions here. Well, there's a question about crude oil. Okay, let's take a look at crude. Sean's asking to show it in crude. Now with crude, what do I got settings here? This is 3 minutes. Yeah, probably try momentum 1. Momentum 1, I'll try POC movement of 1. Sam asked about QQQ. I don't have data on this machine, this PC for stocks or QQQ. I just have futures data here. So this is crude oil right now. So way down here, got a buy, came down to your stop level, but gave a signal from this 5640 area, 50-point move. PK asked it. Interesting question. He's got a lot of questions. I've got several of your indicators: ball shift, catalyst, scalper, delta scalper. Why do I need this one? Well, you don't need it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's for traders that are trying to add another dimension to their trading, right? It's like having more than one car. Do you need more than one car? No. Sometimes you want to take out your Porsche for a drive or something. It's, nowadays a lot of traders are using execution systems like markers or Bloodhound, and what they do is they just let it run in the background. They don't necessarily, they just manage their trading computer, making sure everything is running on all cylinders to give them, more opportunities in the market. Right? Really, that's what it comes down to. It's more than one way to look at the market. I mean, that's what makes the market is how everyone views the market differently. If we all looked at the market the same way, the market wouldn't move. We'd all buy at the same time. We'd all sell at the same time, and price would be zero. Okay. Um, and these indicators are all based on different aspects of order flow, right? I mean, I have, you guys know, I have this thing called the toolbox, right? Which is a tool that allows traders sort of piece together their own order flow indicator by using different aspects of order flow. So like tools like this is even more advanced than something you would cobble together using the toolbox. Okay, but they don't read the same things. It's pointless to have a different indicator reading the same things, right? It's completely different. Delta scalpers reads delta. Um, Catalyst reads something different than what show hand reads. Okay, so they all read different aspects of the order flow. Gold. Well, gold is interesting because gold has been crazy. Sally asks about gold. Honestly, I haven't looked at gold too much over the last couple of days, even though I know this was partly I haven't looked at gold because it's just going berserk. And it's been volatile, honestly. This is what was the setting that I had. This was the setting I had just used on crude. It's got POC movement. It's on a 3-minute chart. Well, let's go back down to a regular chart. So it's got tips level of 3, momentum strength 1, POC movement of 1 as well. I see there's just one signal there. Okay, so buy here, buy here. This sell didn't work out. Some buys in there. Now gold, right? The problem with volatile markets, excuse me, is you're gonna get movements like this where it just drops down, drops back up. What I suggest for some traders to try is going on, again, it depends on what type of chart you're using. You could look at very shorter time frame, 30-second. Excuse me, I gotta drink something. Okay, here's giving some bearish signals here, bearish there. Again, what I would do if I'm looking at a market from scratch is I'd set the settings as low as possible, 0. See how it looks. Okay, again, I got 30-second on here. This is a 1-minute chart, but with just 30-second signals. Okay. This was the trend down in the morning, but by US hours seemed to be decent, 40, 45, all the way up into 60s. And these are big moves in gold. So it moves up, move down, sideways. Right now it's giving some bearish signals in there. RV stands for, it's a type of chart. RV is reversal bars. It's not native to NinjaTrader. You can find it in the ecosystem, NinjaTrader ecosystem. no, it's not included. If you just go to the NinjaTrader ecosystem, look up RV bars, and you'll find it in there. It's a free bar type. Um, I don't want to get into it too much on this one. Curtis asks, what are the requirements needed for FlowsTips? We just need NinjaTrader 8. It'll run on NinjaTrader 8. It's not for, no one uses 7 anymore, but that's it. You just got to have tick replay on. That's it. I mean, if you don't have tick replay on, you'll see a pop-up, I believe. It says, let's see if it comes up. No, it doesn't come up. There it is. Please turn on tick replay in the data settings. Okay. I mean, the thing with tick replay is so that you can see the historical plots. Okay. So let's take a look. Since we're on gold, take a look at, well, silver. Silver's got a lot of people's attention, obviously, with the price where it's at. And a lot of guys crushing it in the silver market because there's very big moves. You just got to, gold and silver right now, if you're trading those markets, you got to cut your losses quick. Don't try to wait it out for it to come back. You could catch some very big moves up and down, but it's definitely a market that you want to manage your risk. Any volatile market, kind of manage your risk. This is 30 seconds. But again, I haven't gone through the settings for silver on what's ideal, but this is just basic settings. Jimmy asks, is there a signal quality? No. What's your difference between signal quality during backtesting and tick replay versus market replay? Well, tick replay, what it means is, because there's two. If you're new to NinjaTrader, market replay is where you can download the data to your computer and play it back. Tick replay, if I don't have tick replay on, I'm not going to see the signals, historical signals. Okay, like here, this sell or this buy, they just won't show up because what it's doing when the way, say, a footprint chart works, right? Like this is a footprint chart, is it reads the data on a tick by tick basis. Okay, so if you have tick replay disabled, all this historical data will not show up because it's not pulling in that data and then formatting it onto the footprint chart. It will start recording it from the time I open my chart, but I won't have the historical part. And that's important because what FlowsTips does is it reads this footprint data as it's coming in on the footprint. So it's doing footprint analysis, but it's plotting it on the bar chart. Okay, so you don't need a footprint chart to do it. You just need the data as it comes in, as it would be plotted on a footprint chart. So that's why you need the tick replay enabled. That's what the tick replay does, is it handles the historical data to sort of put it on the back end of the software to do the analysis as it would on a normal footprint chart, but it's just plotting it on a bar chart. Okay. Let's see here. Are your signals available as indicators that can be used in another indicator or trading strategy, or is they visual only? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there, but it's, well, obviously it's visual, but if you run something like markers, okay, I know a lot of my users use markers from the indicator store, this one here, right, to automate it. And it's explained in the user guide how to automate. What if I got the user guide open here? I don't have it open, but in the user guide here, let me just pull it up. All right, in the user guide, explain here how to set it up in markers. Okay. Let me see here. Sung. Okay. I see your question, Sung, about the other thing. The Sung, I'll email you directly on that because it's not related here. But Jimmy again asked, can you use automated strategy? You know, I don't use the NinjaTrader strategy builder. Unfortunately, I use markers. I just found it years ago to be the best one for me to use, and that's why I never migrated over to strategy builder. All right, everybody, I'm going to end it there. I've been on here for an hour. I don't want to keep you guys on all day. So again, if you're interested, orderflows.com/flowstip. I'll put the link in the chat there just so you guys have it. But you guys got all the emails, but I'll throw it in the chat. It's https://orderflows.com/flowstips. And again, it's the price that it's out now is the lowest it's going to be. After sort of this launch period, it's just going to go back into the stable and it's going to be priced at a higher price. So you're saving about $200 right now on it. So again, just go to orderflows.com/flowstips. And thanks for coming out today, everyone. So have a great rest of your day. And David, I'll get you sorted out, and same with you, Chi Sung.